We've all seen that scene from Finding Nemo where they go through a massive jellyfish field and one sting from the jellyfish could be fatal.
Fishy! Wake up!
Now, considering how deadly jellyfish are, you can for some reason buy them online. So I'm going to buy 3 jellyfish, build them a home, and see if jellyfish are a good pet to have, and I'll also be putting my hand in the tank to see what happens. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. So yeah, they basically have these like starter kits, as you can see. Whoa, look at the size of that one. I tell you what guys, if this video hits 15,000 likes, I will buy this massive tank and we'll fill it with really cool jellyfish. But for now, honestly, I think I'm just gonna go for this circle one. It's quite expensive, but it looks the coolest, I think. Now you can see they have loads of different type of jellyfish. Wait, fried egg jellyfish? What the hell? Oh, it's out of stock. Look at that thing, it looks crazy. But yeah, they have loads of different really cool jellyfish. Like look at this, a Japanese sea nettle jellyfish. But yeah, loads of different type of jellyfish. This is gonna be really cool. Now in terms of what jellyfish I got with the bundle, well, you'll have to wait and see because I got some really cool ones. Now we just had to wait a few days for the jellyfish and everything to be delivered. And don't ask who this is actually the delivery guy. This is actually him. This is not stock footage. This is him. And just like that, we have a cardboard box full of jellyfish equipment. I got sent out 2 boxes. One had the tank and the smaller one had all the important things to set up the jellyfish. Like this weird telescope device that turns out to be extremely important, and without it, the jellyfish would die. Yeah, this was a lot more than I was expecting. Next was some sort of fluid, which again was extremely important, which you'll see why later on. There was a bag of this brown stuff. I still have no idea what this is, even after editing, so if someone could let me know in the comments, that would be great. Next, there was this tiny bag of what looks like carbon, and then this huge pile of salt, because we literally need to recreate the ocean, and yeah, there's lots of salt in the ocean. And after that, it was time to finally unbox the jellyfish tank and start setting it up. It was actually a lot cooler looking than I was expecting and a lot bigger. That's what she said. Are we still doing those jokes? John the delivery man, did you like those jokes? Now in the tank there was a lot more things to unpack, which I wasn't expecting. So I guess now we unbox the tank. Now in the tank there were a few things, like this brush to help keep the tank clean. There was also some sort of pipelet thing to suck up any old food. Also there was loads of yellow bags which help filter the tank. A remote for the LED lights, as this thing lights up really nice later on. And they also included extra pipe if you needed it, but we don't. Now, before we start doing the tank, we need to clean it. So I gave it a quick clean with some warm soapy water to make sure it was nice and clean for the ocean water that we have to put in. After giving it a quick clean, I then had to have a look inside the tank and connect this pipe to the filter. This basically makes the water flow so the jellyfish don't get stuck. You can also adjust this little red screw here to adjust the flow of the water in case it's too fast or too slow. Now, if you don't know, jellyfish need salt in their water. After all, the ocean is salt water, so we have to do some Breaking Bad and literally simulate the ocean water with loads of salt. And we needed a lot more than I originally thought. Now, I filled up the tank with some distilled water. This is basically water with no chemicals in it. Now, here's the most important step. Remember how I said how important this weird little telescope thing was? This basically measures the gravity of the water depending on the salt levels. That's why on the Red Sea, you can float really easily because of the extremely high salt levels. Now, I was really confused on how to use this and it took me a good 15 minutes to understand it. But basically, you put water onto the blue piece and look through the end of the scope. When you look through it, it will show your salt levels essentially. If it sounds confusing, well, it's because it was. I started to add the salt and you can see how little I added because I genuinely had no idea how much I needed. I needed a lot more. But before I finished adding the salt, I forgot to add these balls. These are basically filter media and need to be pre-soaked in the water before adding them in, so that's exactly what I've done. I then soaked the other filter media, started putting the bags in, as well as some other things. I checked the salt levels quickly to see where I was at, and as you can see, this little white line is almost at 20. This basically needs to hit around 30 to 32, so I needed to add a lot more salt. So that's exactly what I did. I added a lot more salt in hopes of it helping. Every time I added the salt, I also mixed it around with the brush to help it dissolve quicker. And then after checking the levels, you can see we're about where we needed to be. You can see that blue line is just about at the 30 mark, which is where we want to be. We want to be between 30 and 32-ish, give or take, for these type of jellyfish. Now remember this fluid that I was talking about at the start of the video. This is still really important, and over the next 10 days, every day, we have to add this fluid into into the tank to sort of cycle it, and it has like beneficial bacteria and stuff in it. At least I think anyway. And turning on the lights for the first time, we can finally see the jellyfish tank fully set up and ready to go. Now it was just time to wait until they arrive. And about 10 days later, we finally got our delivery of jellyfish. My man John delivering the goods as usual. Can we get a shout out to John in the comments? Now you're probably wondering what type of jellyfish I got. I went for cannonball jellyfish. These ones are beginner friendly, but one of the nicest looking beginner friendly ones out there. Maybe if we get that massive tank, like I said, we can get some insane jellies in it. Now before we put the jellies in, we need to put some of the tank water into their bag so they can acclimate to the temperature and conditions of the new tank. Now to get them into the tank, I used this little net and basically just picked them up and dropped them into the water. As far as I know, this is okay to do, especially because they're so delicate, it's a really fine mesh. And as soon as I added the first jellyfish, he was swimming away like normal. Everything looked completely fine, so I went ahead and added the other two. And after adding the other two jellyfish, I noticed that the flow of the water was probably a little bit too strong as they're getting pushed around a little bit. So I just quickly adjusted that. I then turned the light on, sat back, and enjoyed my new pet jellyfish. But don't worry, we're gonna feed them, and I still have to put my hand in the water. But for now, let's just enjoy the jellyfish. Now, you might be wondering, what the hell do jellyfish eat? They eat tiny little brine shrimp, which are very small crustaceans, so let's add some live food for them to try and catch. You might be wondering, how do they catch food if they don't have mouths? Well, if you didn't know, jellyfish don't actually have a brain. In fact, they don't know the difference between floating in a tank or the ocean. So for them to catch food, they sort of just need to get lucky and catch the food in their tentacles, which then gets stuck to them and slowly digests into the main body. This is kind of crazy to watch. You can see in this little video that I tried to get, you can sort of see food at the top of the jellyfish. That's basically it digested the food up to the top. Now, as promised, it was time to add my hand into the jellyfish tank. I was pretty nervous, but how bad can it be, right? And after putting my hand in, one of the jellies literally bounced off of my pinky and died. Nah, I'm only joking. Sometimes when they hit against something, they'll stop pulsing completely. But yeah, there was no sting or anything, and it was completely fine. Now, do I recommend doing this? No. No, I don't. Maybe John wants to try. Should we call John and see if he wants to touch a jellyfish? Well, jellyfish seem to be a really cool pet. So if you want to give this a go for yourself, the link is in the description, and a big thank you to them for sending this kit out. And remember, if you want to see a much bigger tank, let me know. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe so you don't miss future videos, and I'll see you in the next one.